So we know about the whole thing with the 2000 Camry and the broken spring and how I took it out. Yeah, that's a story in and of itself. There was a video on that already. If you haven't seen it, there's a link in the description. But the car decided to add insult to injury. So it all started that morning where the whiff said, oh, the back tire is low, which was that one. So we filled that up. I checked the oil on it. It was down half a quart because it leaks, and you know, it just does. So I filled that up, and then I popped the radiator cap. Looks okay now, but it's not, because it was down about an inch. Why was it down about an inch? See that? Radiator is leaking as well. Now, I did have a leak from the hose here that I thought was from the guy with the ignition coil, and yes, the ignition coil is still sitting there like that, and it runs just fine. So, whatever, I'm not really concerned about that, but, you know, I was looking and that, and indeed, it was leaking. In the previous video, we took the car around for a spin around the block, and then I had the whip take it around the block. And later that day, I look on the ground, and indeed there was coolant. You can't see anything because it rained, and that's that. So yeah, need a radiator also. Now, I can do the radiator myself because I did it on the 87 Camry, and this is not the original radiator. Fun story with this. Okay, so what happened was 6 years ago, the sensor, coolant temperature sensor, failed on the car. Coolant temperature sensor is, I don't think you can see it, it's down at the bottom. There's a wire there, and it screws in the radiator, and that had failed, but nobody knew. The car started overheating while she was coming home, but stayed, you know, way up high, but not in the death zone. So she got it home, and that was all fine and good, and what happened was it cracked the top of the plastic radiator, because they're all plastic nowadays, and that was back then, and just the excess heat and pressure just built up, and it said, all right, I had it. So we put this one in, or my dad did. I was actually still a tiny middle at the time, so he came out here and he did that, and that was in. And later in the day, the whiff goes to leave, and the car promptly overheats yet again. And that's when we found out that the temperature sensor was bad. So I got one. It was the wrong one. This car has two temperature sensors. That's right. There's the coolant temperature sensor, and there is also the engine coolant temperature sensor, which has that green connector there. I didn't know that there were two, and I ended up getting that one, and that wasn't the right one, so I had to then get the right one, and it was a mess and a whole pain in the ass and everything. That actually I had replaced as well at one point or another, but anyway, this just decided it's had it for no good reason. So I ordered a radiator and also a new sensor just in case that one decided to go bad, and maybe we were having the same issue as to why. I haven't run the car long enough to see if the fans are coming on or that, but it was like 10 bucks, so I figured that would be worthwhile changing while the radiator is going to be out anyway. So anyway, I'm in for a radiator and new springs for the back. So I went online and I decided to look to see what I can get. Because the place I go to, I can bring my own parts and he installs them, and it's a lot cheaper that way than having him buy the parts. Alright, no big deal. So I go online and I go to look, and I go on eBay. They got them for this side, driver's side, no problem. And I'm looking for the right side, the passenger side, and no results. I said, huh? What the hell does that mean? So I bought KYB brand quick struts. They're the spring and new shock absorbers. These shock absorbers are fine, but it was just easier to do that, and they'll bolt right in. So that'll save on labor costs as well. So anyhow, I can't find this. Well, I end up at KYB's website, scroll through 264 pages to find that even the other side, which I was going to order, was only meant for the Avalon. But it's the same chassis, the same car, and every other site I saw said it was going to fit, no problem. So we're going with that, and I'm pretty sure it will work, but I still could not find this. So then I went on Amazon and I looked. It's like the part doesn't exist. KYB's site gave me their part number, and even searching with that on both eBay and Amazon, nothing. It just didn't exist. So I found another site, carid.com, and they allegedly have it. And they also offered next day shipping, so it should theoretically be here today or maybe tomorrow, depending on what time the order went in on their end and that. I searched for like an hour trying to find the damn shocks and struts and all that shit for this. It was a shit show. I wanted the KYB. I'm not going to get some shitty Monroe quick struts or anything like that. I wanted something halfway decent, and KYB has some pretty good reviews, so that's what I figured I'd go for. So I ordered all that, and then coming back to the Radiator, I had my choice of a made in China one called Carzonk, and I said, yeah, I think it was Carzonk, and I was like, Carzonk? Like, let's make a deal, Zonk? Does that make sense for a brand name? So I had my choice of that one or an actual Denso Radiator, which was like $7 more. So I went with the Denso. Interesting fact about that is the Denso has a 1-year warranty on it. The Carzonk had a 5-year warranty. But the chances of them actually honoring a warranty and or being in business are pretty slim, so I figured I'd be safer with the Denso Radiator. So like I said, I'm going to do the Radiator myself, and of course that sensor while it's out. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. Just drain it with the petcock, take the 2 hoses off. Transmission cooler lines can come off here or at the radiator themselves. I've done it before, so it's not that big of a deal. And then I will bring the car in to get the shocks, struts, springs, all that suspension-y goodness done at some point later. But right now I'm waiting for parts, and this is going to take a while. It's warm today, almost 60, but it's going back down to like 20, so this car is going to have to wait for a little bit. And fortunately I have the luxury of that. As you see, Ginger is not here at the moment because the wife is currently driving that while her car is down. The benefit of having an extra car. So just to add insult to injury, decided to start puking green shit. That's nice. So getting one of those done as well. Oh man. People were saying that 2020 was like the worst year and everybody was so glad it was gone and Calderona was going to be over. No. 2021 to 2022 has been a shit year around here. 2020, we were fine. We had no problem with Calderona or any of that stuff. But come 2021, man, shit went downhill. This car has just had too many damn problems lately, and it's pissing me off. Between the ignition coil going, then the other ignition coil going, and now the radiator and the rear springs. But let's talk about, once again, what it is. A radiator. That can go on any car at any time. It's not like it's uncommon that they go out. Ignition coils, yep, they go. Certainly not unheard of. Rear springs in that, it happens. There's a lot of shops that sell shocks and struts what people don't need, but I guess they go. It just is. It's age and mileage and hitting every pothole along the road. Anyway, that's it. She'll be back up and running before we all know it. With a hole in my wallet, but it'll be up and running once again. Like I said, it's not that Toyotas don't brake, it's just that they brake less. Now, if you consider the cost of ownership of this vehicle for at least the first 13 years, we'll say safely, there was nothing but brakes, oil, and gas, and tires, which is standard wear items and consumables. So for the first 13 years, there was nothing. You can't buy a car today, unless maybe it's a Toyota, but even that, not even, where you're not going to have problems for the first 13 years. In the first 2 years, you're going to get a recall because the transmission isn't shifting right, or the this and that, and there's software updates and software updates and software updates. None of that shit. No, it's all right here. It's just standard wear, and it's pissing me off. She's getting up there. 20,000 miles to go in a couple more years, and then I think we're going to just retire her, and she'll be the extra car, and Ginger will be the daily, you know. Anyway, that's it for now. Just more insult to injury. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.